Year 4 today is Tuesday the 2nd of February and this video is for the children who have the Year 4 comprehension booklet. We are still going to be working on page 32 today. Hopefully you have had a go at writing the text. We're moving on to having a look at constructing questions for today's activity. Before we start, I just want to give a shout out to Georgia Huxley for working really hard on her comprehension work. Well done, good girl, keep it up. Okay, so today we're going to have a quick revisit as your starter to identify the features that I have written down on this list. Which ones are features of a diary entry? So what would you typically find in a diary entry? So I've put down formal language, emotive language, the present tense, the date and dear diary, contains fronted adverbials and uses first person pronouns. So I want you to write down the ones that do appear in a diary entry, okay? And if there are any more that you know of that do appear in a diary entry that aren't written on here, please could you add them as well, and it'd be great to see how much you have been able to remember from when we did the work in school and from yesterday's lesson, okay? So your learning question for today is, can I create my own comprehension text? So we're still working on creating our comprehension text for this last comprehension activity in book 1. So we're going to carry on looking at that today. I've just picked out the key features again. We're going to revisit this very quickly of a diary entry. Please take your time to look over your diary entries. If you haven't sent them in, please have a look at these features and compare it to what you have written. If there's anything on there that you've missed, you might want to revisit, edit and improve your work. If you've had feedback off me and you've acted on it, well done, brilliant. You don't need to worry about it at all. Okay, so your task for today is to construct questions to match our texts that we wrote yesterday. So we're going to be building on what we've written and we're going to start to construct our own questions. So this is really exciting because a lot of you don't really get the chance to come up with your own questions, so it might be a little bit tricky, but I think we're going to have a lot of fun doing this today. Okay, so I've put up on my board the text, the piece of writing that I came up with yesterday, and then I have got some key pointers on how we can construct our comprehension questions. So number 1 was use what you have written to help write your questions. So I've come up with 3 example questions that you can magpie if you want to, but I would like you to have a go on your own for this task. As examples for the types of questions that you could write. So the first one that I wrote was based on presentation. So I put, how do you know this text is a diary entry? So I'm asking my reader to pick out all the different features from that text that tells me that it's a diary entry. So I would expect them to answer with, the text starts with Dear Diary. The writer, the author, uses first person pronouns. They've used fronted adverbials to support their writing, and it is written in the past tense. I know this because there are words ending in ed, and those words usually are used when writing in the past tense. Okay, so that's an example question there that you can have a go at. Very similar to the comprehension questions that we've been answering our questions about from the text that we've been looking at, was the second question. So using lines 1 to 3, where was the box found? So I would then expect my reader to go 1, 2, 3, and I would expect them to read it, and then I would expect them to pick out the key information. So kitchen table. So the box was found on the kitchen table. So very simple question there. Question 3, so my last example was, how do you know that the character felt scared? So it might be that I've identified the character felt scared because they screamed out in shock. They didn't know what to do. So that is where I would know that the character felt scared. So I would write, the character felt scared when they screamed out in shock and they said they didn't know what to do. Okay, so you're going to be looking at your text and you're going to go, right, I could ask a question about this. I could ask what was in the box when it got opened. So you would expect the person that's reading it to go, well, it was a bright purple beam, and I remember this because I read it in the text. Okay, so you need to think very carefully about the types of questions that you're asking. Now, there are some little tips on your in your book that tells you if it's got 2 marks for that answer, your question might need to be a little bit trickier. So you might need to use something like a presentation style question that asks about the features of the diary entry, and you ask them for 2 features. So then it's a mark per feature, okay? So you've got to put yourself in the shoes of Miss Prince and think, what would Miss Prince ask if she was doing a comprehension lesson for guided reading and she was writing these questions herself? If she wants a 2-mark question, what might she write to get a 2-mark answer? Okay, so have a think very carefully. My next tip is make sure you use the 5 W's. So in the corner of these slides, I have actually found some lovely balloons that have the 5 W's and how. Okay, so refer to them to help you when you write your question. So if you go back to the previous slide, I used the words how a couple of times, but try and use the 5 W's. They are there to help you construct your questions. So you might want to say, where was the box found in the house? Who opened the box? What was inside the box? Why did the person decide to open the box? How did they open the box, or how did the character feel? Explain how you know. Okay, and if you've noticed the pattern in your CGP books, so this is tip number 3, you will have noticed that one of the questions, it's usually question 7, asks for the reader's opinion, and they ask for it to be explained. So you might decide to include a question in there that asks for the reader's opinion. So how would you feel if you found a mystery box in your house? Explain your answer. So you might want to construct a question that is very similar to the question 7s that we have been seeing in our CGP books, okay? So if that's what you need to do, if you're stuck for a question, ask the reader what they think and what they feel, because then they're putting themselves in the author's shoes and the character's shoes, and they're having a go at thinking and feeling like the character. Okay, so that would be a really good one to have a go at writing. And as always, make sure that you send in your work to the Year 4 email address that is on the screen, and let me know how you found this task. If you do your 3 stars and a wish, so 3 things that went well, 1 thing that you think you need to work on, or 1 thing that you would put as a target for yourself, it'd be really good to see. So then when we move on to comprehension book 2, we can identify what types of questions you have found hard and things that we can work on when we come to do some more home learning videos. Okay, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.